Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Mike McDonald, Director of Communications at the Catholic League, and this is Bill Donohue, President of the Catholic League. And today we've got a special treat for you. We are going to start exploring Bill's new book, The Truth About Clergy Sexual Abuse. This will be an ongoing series that we do over the course of this week, and we're going to really unpack some of the meatier stuff within the book. So today, Bill, can we open up with a really important piece for I think a lot of people don't realize is that the Catholic Church doesn't own the abuse of children. Can you elaborate on why you'd open up the book that way?
Yes, I mean, what I'm trying to do in the book in general, Mike, is to say to the readers that much, if not almost all, of what you've learned about this subject is wrong. The conventional wisdom is wrong on so many counts, it's unbelievable. And I've taken my training as a sociologist, a doctorate in sociology from NYU, to mine all the great literature on this subject and to assess it. And I'm interested in objective social science. I'm not interested in op-eds and essays. I'm looking at the data. Now, one of the many myths, is that somehow the Catholic Church has a monopoly on this problem. First of all, we didn't have a monopoly on it when it was at its heyday, which is the mid-60s to the mid-80s. It's almost over today. We'll get to that in some other segments. But quite frankly, wherever you see, sadly, adults interacting with minors on a fairly regular basis, you are going to find incidents of the sexual abuse of minors. We see it in the public schools. We see it amongst lawyers and doctors. We see it amongst athletic coaches. We see it in the military. We see it in camp counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists. Every single demographic group has its representation. Clearly, Hollywood is notorious for the sexual abuse of minors. It's not really very well discussed because of the power of the media itself, which is tend to be tied in with Hollywood. So I looked at other religions. They have this problem. In the Protestant religion, amongst Jews, Muslims, Mormons, it's inescapable. And quite frankly, if people are concerned about the sexual abuse of minors, and they should be, the place to begin is in the home. Now, I don't want to be misunderstood here, Mike. I'm not talking about your typical mother and father, the biological father and mother. No, they don't abuse kids unless they're really sick. Where you do find it, however, is amongst live-in boyfriends. That's the most likely person to abuse a minor, is somebody in your home who's a live-in boyfriend. Unfortunately, stepfathers don't have a very good track record either, and quite frankly, other children actually do abuse some of their brothers and sisters. So look at it that way. Now, all I'm saying is this: the Catholic Church should be held to a higher standard, all right? I expect more from priests than I do plumbers. But I also expect that the treatment should be fair. And when I find out that in my research, that whether it's the Boy Scouts you're talking about or any other institution where you find adults interacting with youngsters, you're going to find the sexual abuse of minors, and the media will make it sound like as if we own it, then I know there's an agenda here at work. And quite frankly, if you really wanted to crack this problem, you would begin with the public schools. You wouldn't go after the Catholic Church, not today.
I think that's very important for our viewers to realize that this is such a broad swath of humanity that unfortunately has a problem with this. And the way you're laying it out, it seems like it's almost next to impossible because there's so many people involved to do anything about that. So has the church been able to make any progress on that front, on really cracking down on people that are breaking the rules?
This is another example of one of the great myths that are out there, and I blame the media for this and the Hollywood establishment and others. People, you have to understand, look at the data. I didn't make it up. I got it from the John Jay researchers, the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, who did 2 outstanding reports. I had some differences. We'll get to that in other segments. But overall, I thought they did a very good job. And clearly, what they've been able to say is that while the Catholic Church certainly doesn't own this problem itself, they've made tremendous progress. And the data are there. If you go, the worst decade in the Catholic Church's history on this subject was the 70s. It started in the 60s, it went crazy in the 70s, and in the 80s things got better in the latter part of it. Now, back in the 70s, there were thousands of cases of accusations made against priests in any given year. We're down to single digits. The latest one that came out, the latest report, came out subsequent to my book, is we're down to now about six substantiated accusations made against about 50,000 members of the clergy. There's no institution, society, which has a record like that. In other words, what I'm saying is that the sexual abuse scandal in the Catholic Church has been over for decades. What you're hearing about today, people, are old cases. In almost every case, the bad guy, the priest, is either been thrown out of ministry or he is someone who is dead, all right? And so we've made tremendous progress. We're down to single digits. I don't know of a single institution in society which has a better record than we do.
Yeah, I think that's also another good point to bring out is you call it in the book Scandal 2, and I think that's very important for people to realize that there's the initial problem that we had with molesting priests and enabling bishops. But then you have the media, society as a whole, not really letting the church move on. And it's creating this image that there's an ongoing problem. Why do you think people are trying to do that?
Well, first of all, the media, the entertainment industry, the secularists in our society, the elites, they hate traditional sexual morality. Now, we share our sexual ethics with our Jewish brothers and sisters. That's where we got it from. Orthodox Jews believe as we do. Evangelical Protestants, certainly. Muslims and Mormons. They want to go after us because we're big, we're old, we're hierarchical. And they've got a vested interest in this. And you've got the Pennsylvania grand jury report that came out. They make it sound like this is all going on today. They were able to prosecute 2 priests. 2. They knew that going into this. This was a public relations stunt. And clearly Hollywood has played a role as well. They give us movies like the Magdalene Sisters and Philomena. The Magdalene Sisters, I read the McLeish report. It's a government report in Ireland. There was not a single woman sexually abused by the nuns. And yet they give you the picture projected from the movie that that's the case with slave labor and the like. It's all a lie. And Philomena Lee, they made a movie out of her. She said, I was looking for my son who was put up for adoption. Well, who put him up for adoption? You did when you were 22, when you voluntarily signed a contract because nobody else would take the baby, and you never looked for your son. As a matter of fact, you never set foot in the United States until the movie was about ready to come out. Right. But that's never told to people. I mine the data on this. I look at the evidence. There's obviously an animus against the Catholic Church. They want the public to believe that nothing has changed. We've made tremendous progress, but they are poisoning the public mind with these lies. And I'm very detailed about all of this.
Yes. Another group that you really go after in the book, as you mentioned with the Pennsylvania grand jury, but the trial lawyers and the victims advocacy groups, they also seem to feature prominently in the book. And what role do they have to play?
Well, particularly the Survivors Network of about priests who've been children have been abused by priests, SNAP. I mean, they are the worst. They've been shown to be absolutely bankrupt. I've been able to point out, I actually had people go into one of their meetings, which was open to the public, but kind of undercover, and report back about the hatred of the Catholic Church and how they grease each other. The lawyers get the money and the clients from SNAP, and then they used to write the checks back to them. Now, it's interesting, a transgender person who thought that what I had written about SNAP was not true, she went to work for them as a director of development and found out all the lies they've been telling. Even David Kalowesi, the founder of SNAP, he came out and said, yeah, we lied to the media. He had to be deposed off of this. So, no, we had a lot to do with busting SNAP. But the media gave you the impression constantly that SNAP has some authoritative voice and understanding about the sexual abuse case. They were a fraud from the beginning, and they're basically on one knee now. They don't exist anymore, and I'm glad that we played a major role in doing that.
Yes, very important for our viewer to keep in mind that, like you mentioned, this is pretty broad spread, but there's been a lot of progress made. And that's something that, as you point out in the book, Scandal 2 really doesn't let us move beyond.
Right. So we have Scandal 1, that was caused by inside the church, and we have Scandal 2 by the people who won't give it up, who want to exploit it and for everything they can, and leave the impression that it's ongoing. That's a lie, people, and I've got the evidence to prove it.